Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about something a little different than usual. I'm going to talk about bodybuilding judging. How do you judge the show? And the idea of talking about this came after watching the competition last weekend in Europe, in Spain, Alicante. And some people debating the placement, how people were ranked. And even though it was a really close show, because at least top 5 athletes, I didn't see the live. I saw some video clips. I've seen the pictures. So I'm not here to judge the whole lineup. I'm just here to explain how bodybuilding is judged and explain why it was really well judged, even though it was actually very close, because all the guys in the top 5 at least that I've seen, even top 6, actually really brought it. They brought a really great package. They were very well conditioned. So it was very small details that made the difference. So the first thing when you judge bodybuilding, the number one thing, since we're talking about bodybuilding, is muscularity. You gotta have muscle, and the more muscle, the better, to an extent, to that, which leads to the second point, the symmetry. So you want to have great muscle development, but it has to be in harmony and be balanced overall in your body. So you don't want to have any gaps, and body parts have to flow with each other. So if you have really good arms, you want, to make sure, especially if you have good arms and chest, you want to make sure that the shoulder, that's going to, in proportion, look smaller in between those two body parts, is well developed as well. And that goes with every body part. Like if you have really wide lats, that's gonna give the illusion that your quad sweep are not as good, or that your legs are more shallow, or vice versa. If you have really good legs and they're very wide with really great sweep, you're gonna end up looking like your back is not as developed or as wide as if it was more balanced. So the first thing I said is muscularity, second thing, symmetry, and the third criteria for judging is conditioning. And conditioning comes down to 3 things. So the first one is the low body fat. So you want to make sure you have very little body fat all over your body. And it's important to say all over your body, because people carry body fat in different places genetically. So for example, some people, like a lot of men's physique athletes I've seen with really great abs, really shredded, even the whole upper body, and then they show their legs and the legs are not as cut. They tend to carry more body fat in the lower body, which is perfect for men's physique because you don't really have to worry about that part. I mean, as far as conditioning, at least, even as far as muscular development. So, but if you're doing classic physique or bodybuilding, you're gonna have to be lean overall. And so lean, low body fat, but also dry. So the dryness is holding very little to no water under your skin. Obviously the body is mostly made of water, so you need water, and the muscle are especially, you need water in your body, but you don't want any water between the skin, under the skin, between the muscle and the skin. So the dryness, and the third thing is the hardness. So that's where we talk a lot about muscle maturity, and muscle separation is another thing that's going to come into conditioning, but it's also part genetic, and I think part due to the style of training, but a lot of it comes from genetic. So for example, this past weekend, Rafael has really great separation in his quads. James doesn't have that as much, but that doesn't mean he was less conditioned. You can see that from the back. James was actually head and shoulders above his competition. His conditioning was just spot on, and that's what really, I think, solidified his victory. And you can see that from the back, in his glutes and hamstring, lower back, everything is just dry and crisp. And on videos, it was very obvious. He was really hard. He got that grainy look. A lot of people have been comparing him to Branch Warren for that graininess, and yeah, so talking about last weekend show, so we had James Hollingstead placing first, Lucas Osladil placing second, Rafael Brandao third, and Regan Grimes fourth. So first and foremost, if you know me, if you've been following me for a while, you know that Rafael and Regan are both my friends, and coming from Classic Physique, Regan has been competing with me there. I really love and admire those physiques. They're very, very appealing to me. But when you judge a bodybuilding show, there's those three criteria that come into play. And even though I believe Rafael won a lot of front shots, like this one double biceps front lat spread for sure, when he turns around from the back, he ended up pricing fourth out of those four guys. On the other hand, Regan was still good, really good from the front. From the back, he was probably the best or top two. His back double bicep and back lat spread, you can arguably having him first. But overall, Regan suffered, I believe, because I think his conditioning was pretty good. Based on the picture we're seeing leading up to the show, I just believe he might have overcarbed and maybe was holding a little bit of water. He spilled over a little bit, which made him lose the conditioning round. I mean, between those four guys. So he was always, being handicapped in every pose because of that. And because he was losing a third of the points because of that. Then as far as, so that's the other thing. So those are the three criteria where how you judge a bodybuilding show. And then the only way to really place people is to compare them. Everybody looks amazing by themselves. They're all pro athletes. We are all pro athletes. We post pictures, we look really good, but that's when we compare people next to each other that the weaknesses or the difference of conditioning get exposed, and that's when we can really place people. So the Chicago Pro is coming up next weekend, and it's impossible to tell you who's going to win or who's going to place. I mean, you can have an idea who's going to place in the top 5 based on the recent shows and different other factors, but as far as really placing them, excuse me, from 1 to 5th, it's impossible until you see them next to each other on stage, because that's when you stand them next to each other that you can, when you have them standing next to each other, that you can see, the gaps in the physique, the muscularity difference, and the difference of conditioning, and the conditioning overall, the whole body. So for example, like I was saying, Rafael has really great quad separation. His front shots were great. It was very conditioned from the front. When you turn around, I think his lower, like his glutes, hamstring were not as tight as Lucas and James. So I think that's where Lucas placed ahead of him, because I think Lucas beat him on conditioning overall, so over the whole body, because Lucas was really very well polished from head to toes. He's a very complete bodybuilder also. And the other thing that I believe hurt Rafael a little bit is from the side, because he's a taller guy and he's still very young too. His legs look, especially from the hamstring, they don't look as complete as someone like Lucas or James, who have incredible, very full and well-balanced legs from front to back. So between the conditioning from the back and the side poses, that's where I believe that Rafael lost a couple points and just slipped just behind Lucas Osladil and finished third, which was a really close show. I think there's only 2 points between them, which shows, it was very close. But I think that was actually very, very well judged. Even though I would love, to see Rafael and Regan win shows, and I know they will very soon, because they're both very young and got a lot of talent. So I'm excited to see Rafael competing soon in the Olympia for his first Olympia appearance, and I'll be following this. He's been doing amazing, making some incredible progress the last few years, especially last year, training around James Flex Lewis, and I'm really excited to see what he brings to the stage in December for his Olympia debut. And Regan, I hope he also qualifies. He's first in the point system, and I don't see him slipping down under the 5th place. I believe top 5 was qualifies. So I believe we'll see also Regan at the Olympia this year. And Regan is also a very, very complete bodybuilder. I think he's just still figuring out how to completely nail his peak with his new coach. But they're doing a great job. Having him condition. I think it's the first time I saw him without any cheeks, like leading up to the show. I told him, and he's been improving. He's already very well balanced, complete bodybuilder. So for him, and he's very muscular already. So for him, it's just a matter of like really nailing his conditioning and keep improving, adding size the same way he has, keeping his really great symmetry. And I think James was the clear winner, especially if you see on videos, because I didn't see the live. First I saw some pictures, and I noticed Lucas really, very quickly, because he was, his conditioning was really great, and shining through from head to toe on every side, from front, side, and back. James was a little blurred on those pictures I've seen at first, and also dark, so it was hard to judge his conditioning. But once I saw some videos, the videos I saw, Lucas wasn't in there, but I saw James, and James, you could see, like, in videos, in good quality videos, you could really see his hardness and conditioning. That was just so great, and that really put him ahead of all the athletes, on top of his muscularity. I think he was the most muscular guy on stage. So having, winning the muscularity round and the conditioning round, that places you very high already. And Symmetry is very complete also. So even though you can argue that, some on some poses, Rafael is more aesthetic than him, overall, James takes this victory home because of his muscularity and conditioning. So I thought that was a really, really great show, very exciting to watch, and very, very well judged, actually. And even though it was very, very difficult, I had to look at the pictures, a lot, and compare, and to really, have my order. And that was great. That was fun. So I'm looking forward this weekend. There's another show, the Chicago Pro in Atlanta. A lot of great athletes who haven't qualified yet. I'm looking forward to see Justin Rodriguez, Akim Williams, because he's been bringing a crazy conditioning lately, and he's got crazy size. He just posted an update recently from his back. And who else? Max Charles, who's been crazy conditioned the last few shows. See how he compares this time. He could very well win the show. I think there's Eddie Bracamontes on the list, but after talking to him at the California Pro, we had lunch after the show. I thought his season was over, so I think he might not be doing this show. We have Camillo Diaz, who is a very young bodybuilder from Colombia, who I know was gonna do well, but I think he still needs more size. He works with Chris Aceto also. After this, I don't know Chris Di Domenico. I'm gonna look up the competitors soon, and I might do another video to try to tell you a little bit my top 5. Then who else do I know? I know Johnny Jackson, a veteran, so he's got a crazy upper body. We'll see how he looks like on stage this weekend. And Gwyn, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name exactly. He's also incredible, incredible shape, very muscular, and he's been nailing his conditioning better and better recent shows, because I've seen him competing every year at the California Pro for the last few years, and he always caught my attention. And he's been nailing his conditioning and finding the right recipe for him in the recent years. So I'm excited to see how he fares against those guys. Who else is there? Oh, Josue Plasencia, he was also doing the show with me in California. Eric Ramirez, that sounds familiar right now, just don't picture him. Justin Rodriguez, who actually could have won, he was mentioned to win the New York Pro next to Ian Valliere. So I think he's going to do very well at that show. He looks like he held on his conditioning. So if he didn't lose any size and he comes as full and dry and lean as he was, he could very well win it all. Joe Seaman, who was really good also at the Cal, very complete bodybuilder. Yeah, I think he's going to do very well. Shaban, also very good and very complete. So it's just a matter of who brings the best conditioning. Sean Smith, I've seen some updates of him. He looks crazy. But once again, I have to see how he looks like next to the other guys. Derek Upshaw, Josh Wade, always bringing really good conditioning also. He comes often to the California Pro. Nicholas Walker, Nick Walker. So, we saw how he looked when he turned pro. And he's got tons of size, so he's going to do probably very well also. And Hakeem Williams and Keith Williams. Hakeem Williams, I just talked about him already. So it's going to be a very exciting show. I'm sure there's going to be a live stream, so make sure you catch this. These type of shows right now with the pandemic are very hard for the promoters to put together, and they hard to monetize for them, so it's hard to make money. So if you want to support the sport, support the promoters so we can have shows, and so in that way also support the athletes. Please, pay for the live stream, watch, and don't show it on your live on Instagram and everything. Keep that for yourself, so everybody can order their own live stream, and that can help us all as far as the bodybuilding family. So I encourage you, really, if you can afford it, to pay for the live stream this weekend, watch the show, and debate online who you got. And until next time, see you soon. Boom.